Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing a quick follow-up video to a video that I made about a month ago on the 5 best legendary characters in the game. There are only 5 other legendaries in the game, so I thought maybe we would take a second to talk through why these other 5 legendaries aren't that great. And I do want to point out this is sort of a new player or non-spender oriented video, but I think maybe if you are a spender or if you're a more experienced player, maybe some of this will come in handy for you as well. So if you haven't already watched the video on the top 5 best legendary characters in the game, definitely go give that one a listen. If you don't plan on watching it, that's fine. I can give you just a basic recap. So I talked about why Wonder Woman, Green Arrow, Black Adam, Mira, and Killer Croc were the best 5 legendaries to kind of start your account with and build up while you're waiting to unlock some mythics and get those to 3 to 5 white stars where their skills actually start coming into play and you can actually start building those up instead. Now, one caveat that I will make to that first video, and I think I've mentioned this in maybe one of my tier list videos, is Killer Croc is definitely a legendary that you don't want to put too much ACDC or force talents into. Maybe you start working on some of that first tier, but really be careful with that one. He's definitely the on that fringe where he's kind of number 5, and I think there's a couple of these lesser legendaries that might even be better than him if you end up wanting to dump some force into them. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But Wonder Woman, Mira, Black Adam, and Green Arrow, particularly Green Arrow, Mira, and Wonder Woman, are amazing characters, even for people who spend on the game. You talk to a lot of whales and they'll tell you that Green Arrow can carry from a DPS perspective, and Mira, just because you're going to be able to get her stars up really fast, is going to be, she's kind of one of the best healers in the game. It's just so difficult to get Green Lantern up and running unless you spend a lot of money. We're talking hundreds of dollars at a minimum. You can get them unlocked for probably less than $100, but you're just not going to have any stars on them. Raven is kind of difficult to pull, and Ivy, same thing, kind of difficult to pull. So Mira is great to invest in, but you can go back and watch the other video to see a little bit more of the nuance on that. Let's talk about some of these worse characters, worse legendaries, and I'm gonna go in my mind from worst to best. So in my opinion, the worst legendary right now is Adam, and the reason for that is his kind of main mechanic, his ultimate, is he will blow up, do a ton of AoE damage, and then just leave the battlefield. And it's kind of great in Meta Brawl or any game mode or any match where you really need to do a ton of damage and there's not a next level that you need him for. So he's actually good in some training sim levels, but again, you have to invest in him. You're going to have to put some force, some ACDC shards into him, and I just think that you're going to be better off saving those ACDC shards for characters that are going to work in a lot more game modes. For that reason, I do not recommend that you invest anything into him. If you're using him for trying to beat a level, it's because you have him in your training simulator level sync, and that's it. The next character is Captain Cold. So Captain Cold is a character that I do think will see some, he's probably going to see some play, maybe people who just really, really like Legion of Doom. He offers a little bit of synergy for those Legion of Doom characters. We can take a look at his kit. You'll see that he has an incapacitate, which I'm a huge fan of incapacitate in games like this. It's really sort of the win condition in a lot of ways, being able to stop the other team from doing anything and then being able to pump out damage yourself. So incapacitate, great, gets a win in my book for that. However, if you don't have a lot of investment in Legion of Doom, he's not really going to do that much for you. And even then, his one Legion of Doom synergy is that he reduces or he increases physical defense and spiritual defense of Legion of Doom allies. You know, it's one of those kind of fringe benefits of using him as a fourth or fifth character in your Legion of Doom team. And with the meta right now in the game, you're really just trying to pump out as much damage as possible, and it doesn't matter whether you're getting the 4 or 5 tag bonus versus the 3. So again, another kind of reason to not use him. And then the last thing I will say is kind of a good and bad thing. So he has sort of an escape move where he can roll backwards if the character is coming towards him. You're probably going to have Captain Cold running on the back line, obviously. So he rolls backwards, but then he charges forward. So it kind of defeats the purpose of an escape move. And, you know, I don't really think it adds a lot of value because of that. If it was just kind of a jump back away from the enemy and then fire or do damage, then I think that might be a much better option. It doesn't. So that makes him the second worst legendary in the game. Not the second worst character. There are actually some mythics that I would say might be just as bad. The next character is Catwoman. And Catwoman, this would have been a contentious comment in the landscape version of the game. Catwoman has been fairly well nerfed at this point. She used to be one of the best characters. She was probably even S tier for combat cycle. What they did was, I believe they nerfed, and somebody can let me know exactly how the kit was nerfed. I know there's a spreadsheet out there that I could go look at. Tavoka's essentially, her ultimate allows her to steal some of the attack power of the enemy, and it is stackable, so it's not bad. You know, she does have some utility. It's in particular in like an Arkham's Most Wanted, I think, lineup. It's just not quite enough. Like, there are other characters that can do more damage than her, and this does have to ramp up. So you'd have to cast the ultimate 3 times before you're able to get the full benefit from the stacking attack power. I believe, yeah, she's also able to steal some attack with one of her other skills. You know, because she's a legendary, you will be able to get all of her skills unlocked fairly quickly. So, you know, it's not insignificant, but I just don't think that there's enough here in her kit to justify the AC/DC shards needed to get her up where she needs to be. All right, so let's talk about a couple of the worst legendaries that actually have a little bit of value, but then also why that value drops off over time. Let's see. I think the first one will probably be Red Hood. Kind of a toss-up here. For a lot of people, Red Hood might actually be a character that they would prefer to build over Killer Croc, even though doing that means that you're going to have only one tank on the board with Wonder Woman when you get started. But Red Hood has a fairly decent AoE. The issue is that once he does his AoE, in most cases, he's cooked. He's going to die fairly quickly depending on which game mode you're playing in with him. You're probably not going to use him much in combat cycle or a lot of training simulator modes, a lot of training simulator battles. Similar to Adam, where you might have a situation where you just need to pump out a lot of AoE damage. I think Red Hood offers a lot of upside there. I have seen him used in a few, higher level teams in combat cycle. So definitely not an unusable character, but again, just one of those characters that I think there's other characters that are champions that offer more upside. Like, in my opinion, Black Adam is a better AoE damage dealer than Red Hood because Black Adam gets his ultimate up pretty fast. He's able to cycle it, and he's sitting on the back line. So, he's usually going to keep himself out of harm's way. And if your tanks are dying, then probably everybody's gone. Build him at your own risk, but it's not going to hurt to put a little bit of force into him as your 5th legendary above Killer Croc. The last one to talk about is Vixen. Now, Vixen is interesting. I do think that Vixen's kit is pretty well done. And, it's the issue is she just doesn't pump out a lot of damage. But the point of Vixen's kit, and what a lot of people use her for, is to kind of bootstrap or or slingshot your highest attack character. We can take a look at her kit really quickly. So her ultimate, she's able to increase attack of all allies by 25% for 10 seconds. That is a very significant amount of damage, and that's for allies within range. So it's typically going to affect your physical kind of brawler type characters. So like, I mean, this is great with Superman or Harley, for example. And then she's also able to increase the attack of one ally for 40% for 10 seconds. So that's actually really not in that. I guess that's just at the level that I have her at, but 40% is a lot. And if you're able to, like, most likely if you're using her in a Superman team, it's going to be Superman that she goes to. I believe she goes to the character or champion that has the most attack. So it's probably going to be your Superman, and it allows him to dump out a lot of damage, especially if you're playing on manual and you know his ultimate's about to be up. So definitely a character that has some utility. The issue is there are two other characters that can do the same thing that are mythic, and so at some point down the road, you're going to have Batgirl, who can increase allies' crit rate, or you're going to have Cyborg. And Cyborg is immediately usable at 0 stars as a mythic. So once you unlock him, in my opinion, it's probably irrelevant that you have a Vixen at all, because he is able to inflict vulnerability on enemies, and it increases physical damage taken by 20%. It just makes Superman a truck for the amount of time that he's online. So the other cool thing that Cyborg's kit does is he's able to extend the mission time limit by a certain amount of seconds. The more you upgrade him, the higher that goes. Definitely makes it a lot harder to justify building up Vixen and putting a lot of force into Vixen. I mean, that's pretty much it. You know, I'll probably make another video talking about ACDC shards and force, but I really think I've kind of covered it here between these two legendary videos that I've made. And it's just really important to make sure that you're only using ACDC shards on characters that you know you're going to build for the future. And so just be really careful about these. I think it's kind of a trap to go after these characters, or to invest ACDC shards into your first few mythics that you unlock, because you might think it's a good idea, but it might be a mythic that you aren't going to use in the future. So take a look at our tier list and make sure that you're building smart. Please comment, like, subscribe. Let me know which characters you're building and focusing on, whether that be in a late stage account or in a brand new account that you started. Looking forward to hearing from you, and I will talk to you in a future video.